Tuning into another segment of the Sit Down with Malik Wright, presented by First Star Logistics. On this segment, I'll be discussing why I believe it's time for the Patriots to move on from Bill Belichick. 81 and 94, 26 and 30. 81 and 94 is Bill Belichick's record as a head coach without Tom Brady as his starting quarterback. 26 and 30 is Bill Belichick's record as a head coach since Tom Brady left the New England Patriots. Daniel, this is a topic that we need to talk about. We need to address because what I've seen from the New England Patriots, it feels as if it's an organization, a team that's has outdated practices, a team that where the rest of the league is moved on, the rest of the league is moving forward, and they're getting their new shiny toys at quarterback that are mobile, that have big strong arms. It seems like the Patriots are pretty much stuck in neutral. They still believe that they can win with the old mentality, right, of a pocket passing quarterback who lacks the mobility, a running game followed by the play action game. They don't believe that the quarterback necessarily needs to be able to do any of the extracurricular things outside of the pocket to make things a lot easier for the offense. And I think that's what's holding this Patriots team back. Almost when I watch the New England Patriots, what I sort of see is what I saw with Alabama almost. Me being an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, it took us a long time to finally catch up, right? Jalen Milroe, we obviously had Jalen Hurts. Those style of quarterbacks were much more necessarily, I would say they're more dynamic, right? But we had the Mac Jones of the past. We had the Asian McCarrons where, you see the rest of the college football world moving ahead, going to the mobile system, the RPO, play action, read option, so on and so forth. And Alabama wasn't doing that type of stuff. And then, it's funny enough, Bill Belichick and Nick Saban are such close friends. The same thing that was happening with Nick Saban at Alabama, the same thing is happening with Bill Belichick in New England
Yeah.
and in the NFL. It seems like everybody is just passing them by. They even got beat at their own game going up against the Raiders this past week, right? Meaning you have a quarterback that doesn't do too much, a quarterback that can dink and dunk, play action, run the ball effectively. And the Patriots offense is just so pedestrian. Matter of fact, it's borderline, it's beyond pedestrian. You have no faith. You should have no faith in Mac Jones or this Patriots system to be able to get the job done. And I just feel like the league has caught up to the quote unquote Patriot way. So let me be the first one to say it. The Patriot way is dead. The Patriot way is dead. There needs to be a new way of going about things. And I understand Bill Belichick is one of the most winningest coach in the modern era. And some people consider him the GOAT. Not my GOAT. Vince Lombardi's the GOAT, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, you've got to now look at yourself. If you're Robert Kraft and company, you got to say, is it time to move forward? Is it time to move on from Bill Belichick as the head coach of our New England Patriots team? What's going to put us in the best position to succeed? Here's the bright spot for you Patriots fans, and I know Daniel has a lot to say. Daniel grew up a Patriots fan. Bill Belichick isn't the answer anymore as the head coach, but neither is Mac Jones. Mac Jones isn't the answer at quarterback either. I don't think this is strictly just a Bill Belichick issue, but I think Bill Belichick's ideology and his way of thinking, you'll be in a constant situation in which there's no change. So my thought process is if I'm the New England Patriots, I'm having a serious conversation within ourselves. And I think it's personally time to move on from Bill Belichick, even though he, brought us a lot of success. It's almost like, Coughlin. Coughlin brought the Giants a ton of success. And they had to move on to him. They had to move on from him when the time came. I definitely think Bill Belichick could find himself moving into a front office role, so on and so forth. But right now, the Patriots are 1-5, and there's not a lot to hang your hat on. Everything just looks bad. So, Daniel, what say you?
So, man, it sucks to see this because it's, the Patriots of great we've seen in the past. I've got a couple things. First off, the fact of the matter is Bill Belichick cannot be a GM. That's how I look at it. That's the first thing I'm saying. Okay, look at the moves that he's made. Look at this past offseason, for example. You picked you picked Kendrick Bourne, fine talent, over Jacoby Myers. Look at what Jacoby Myers doing with Las Vegas. Jacoby Myers is a stud. You let him go. You signed Juju Smith-Schuster, who's doing nothing. Obviously, he's hurt, but he doesn't add volume to your offense. You look at the tight end position. You can't get it right. You've got guys, Hunter Henry, you signed for a huge contract. Let's not forget, they brought in Jonnu Smith. Then they traded him away. Now you bring in Mike Gesicki. You're not using him. I don't have confidence in Bill Belichick as a GM, and I'll start there. So as a Patriots fan, you say, what's the answer? What's the solution? I can't see a world where, first off, I would say stop being a head coach or stop being a GM and focus on coaching. But at the same time, I don't know if Bill Belichick's going to be okay with that. And at the same time, Robert Kraft, is he going to be okay with firing Bill Belichick? And that's the tough conversation that needs to be had, because the way that their program is right now, this is not sustainable. This is not sustainable, because whether it's the talent you're bringing in through free agency, whether it's you're setting in your first round quarterback up for failure with no real offensive line, with no real offensive identity, you're failing. So I think Bill Belichick, like you said, is caught up in this old mantra of, all right, let's defense first, let's pound the rock. It doesn't work with an offensive line, and it doesn't work with a defense that's continuously getting torched. So what I'm saying is they need to bring in a new face in the organization as a GM, because that's the first part. I look at the talent they have, it's abysmal on offense. The talent that they're having on defense isn't where it needs to be. So that's the biggest thing. And also, you've got to find a different quarterback. At this point, Mac Jones isn't working. And I was a huge believer of Mac Jones. I still think Mac Jones can be a fine quarterback in the right system, like a Brock Purdy in the 49ers. So right now, if you're the Patriots, you've got to blow it up, and you've got a good chance. You've got a first-round pick. You're 1-5. Look at the draft class: Drake May, Michael Penix, Caleb Williams. You've got good quarterbacks there, and you're going to have a ton of cap this upcoming year. So this offseason is the perfect time to shift your thinking. I personally would have a conversation with Bill Belichick and say, hey, either one of the two, you give up your duties as a GM and focus on coaching, or let's part ways and start something new. The issue is, I don't know if Robert Kraft is willing to have that conversation with the legacy they have.
So it's a tough conversation, right? We've seen it several times in sports. We've seen it with Marvin Lewis and Mike Brown. Obviously, Marvin Lewis didn't really do much in Cincinnati in the national eye, but from a local level, he did so much. He's the most winning coach in Bengals history. He's done so much to help this franchise in terms of bringing them towards the new age, if you will. We've seen it with, obviously, like I talked about, Coughlin and the Giants. We've seen it with Philadelphia and Andy Reid. We've seen it with Tony Dungy and the Colts. We've seen it several times, and that's not necessarily a firing. It could be a parting of ways or a transitioning into a different role, allowing someone else to step in and bring new, different ideologies, new methods, right? And I definitely think the Patriots need a breath of fresh air as the head coach. And it's tough to say, right? Seeing as many rings as Bill Belichick has up on the mantle, albeit with Tom Brady, but nonetheless, he has a ton of wins, a ton of rings, a ton of success he's brought towards New England. And that can't be, overstated enough. That can't, or, I want to make sure that we're respecting what Bill Belichick accomplished in New England. And I don't think his coaching tenure was a fluke. I think that it just gets to a point where the message grows stale.
Mm-hmm.
I think it gets to a point where the rest of the league might catch up to you, and you're sort of falling behind, essentially. He's been on the job, 20 plus years. That happens with anything. So let's bring this to my next point. For Patriots fans out there, they might be saying, get rid of Bill Belichick. And believe it or not, some Patriots fans, I know they're ready to move on from Bill Belichick. But then you might be asking yourself, what's the alternative? Well, I have an alternative for you. And I don't know how well received this would be, but I think it's an ideal fit. I love the idea of Jim Harbaugh coming from Michigan to come coach the New England Patriots. Here's a guy that has won at every single level he's been at. He's got the Michigan Wolverines playing like one of the best teams in the country right now. They look better than Ohio State. They look better than Alabama. They look better than any team you could probably think of right now. I would take the Michigan Wolverines over in college football right now. And this has been a slow, gradual build. Deion Sanders came in with a lot of hype, right? We saw what's the coach's name at USC?
Lincoln Riley.
Lincoln Riley come in with a lot of hype. We've seen several coaches come in with a lot of hype, but I feel like one of the biggest turnarounds that isn't being talked about enough is the fact that Michigan's program has been brought back from, being underperforming essentially. They beat Ohio State with the last 2 years. And they've done it convincingly, I would say. He has built a winner at Michigan. He built a winner at Stanford. He built a winner in San Francisco. He had them playing in three or two NFC championships. The guy lost his job in San Francisco because he was too obsessed with winning. When do you ever hear about that? The guy was too obsessed with winning. He was holding the front office, Jetty York, and them accountable. And this is a guy that is out of the National Football League because he cared too much about winning. That's pretty insane when you think about it. So to me, he fits the Patriots mold of a winning coach. I feel like he's relatable to players. If you don't think he is, well, he's a college football coach and he's relatable to Michigan. He had interest from the Minnesota Vikings a couple years back. That fell through. I thought the Colts would have been an ideal fit for him, seeing as I believe he's in the Colts Ring of Honor. That fell through. So for me, Jim Harbaugh makes a lot of sense for the New England Patriots. And if I'm the New England Patriots, I'd place that phone call. If I'm the New England Patriots, I'd place that phone call. I think that it's an ideal fit. I feel like this is the better because it's very difficult. No matter if you get a top 10 pick, or as they look right now, a top 5 pick, it's very difficult to come back from what their record is right now. It's very difficult for the team to come in next year and all be gung-ho, ready and rejuvenated and believers in Bill Belichick's ideology and his system. So for me, I think bringing in a new coach like Harbaugh, and I think Michigan has a real chance at winning the national championship this year. I do. I think they're going to beat Ohio State again for another year, personally. I don't see anybody challenging them, personally. And I never thought I'd really say that being an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but that team looks really, really impressive. That all being said, I think Harbaugh is an ideal fit for the New England Patriots, Daniel.
Yeah, I think that regardless, if that were to happen, that's the first step because you've got to have a conversation with Bill Belichick and you have to say, hey, this isn't working. Something has to change. If they go into next year with Bill Belichick as their GM and as their head coach, it's enough. So
yeah. Let us know what you guys think in the comment section. Is the Patriots' reign over? Should the Patriots call Harbaugh at the end of the season and probably get him to be the new head coach of the New England Patriots of the future? Let us know in the comment section what you think. If you like more videos like this, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live from the First Star Logistics Studio.